May 14th, 2008. Marshall, Minnesota. It's 2:30 in the morning. A college student named Brandon Swanson is on the phone with his dad, lost but calm. "Just come pick me up," he says. He thinks he's near the town of Lind, but he isn't. He sees lights. He starts walking toward them. His dad stays on the phone for 47 minutes, and the line goes dead. No screaming. No signal. No footsteps. No trace. What happened in that final moment? How can someone just disappear in a flat field? And why has no one, not even the FBI, been able to solve this case? This is a real story. A true mystery. Subscribe now to Unbelievably True Story and stay to the end. You won't forget it. May 13th, 2008. Marshall, Minnesota. 10:30 p.m. The sun was long gone. The sky was dark and quiet. A small college town like Marshall, Minnesota, it always slept early. Brandon Swanson didn't. He was 19. A smart, polite kid. Studying wind energy at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. That night, he was celebrating the end of the semester. He wasn't wild. No loud parties. Just a few friends, some goodbye laughs. Maybe a couple of drinks. Everyone said he seemed fine. Relaxed. Normal. By 11:30 p.m., Brandon said his goodbyes. He was heading home to Marshall. But Brandon never made it home. 1:15 a.m. Somewhere outside Marshall, Brandon's car was now alone. Parked strangely on a gravel road. Half in a ditch. Half out. The road stretched through the middle of nowhere. Fields on both sides. No streetlights. No cars. No houses. Just wind. Just darkness. Brandon had taken back roads. It's not clear why. Maybe he thought it was faster. Maybe he was avoiding police. But this part, this road, it wasn't on the way to Marshall. It was near Taunton, a tiny farm town over 20 miles away from where he thought he was. Brandon wasn't in Lind. He wasn't even close, but he didn't know that. 1:54 a.m., Brandon called home. His dad, Brian, picked up. He said calmly, "I went off the road. I'm stuck in a ditch." He didn't sound scared. He just wanted a ride. Brian said, "Okay, where are you?" Brandon answered, "I'm near Lind." Lind was about 7 miles from their home in Marshall. So Brian and his wife, Annette, got in the truck and drove out. They went up and down the roads near Lind. Flashing headlights. Calling his name. No Brandon. Brian called again. "Flash your lights so we can see you." "I am flashing them," Brandon replied. But they saw nothing. Brandon kept saying, "I can see lights. I think it's Lind. I'm walking toward them." He hung up and called back. Then again. And again. They stayed on the phone, not arguing, but frustrated. 2:15 a.m. Brandon is still walking. Brian is still driving. Still searching. For nearly 47 minutes they stay on the phone. Brandon talks about the direction he's walking. He says he's going up and down hills. He mentions fences. Gravel. He never sounds drunk. Just lost. The line crackles. Brian tells him, "Just keep talking. We'll find you." 2:30 a.m. The last words. The call is still going. Then, suddenly, the phone goes silent. The line doesn't hang up. But Brandon says nothing else. Brian waits. "Brandon?" he asks. No answer. "Are you okay?" Nothing. The call stays connected, but there's no sound, no voice. Just silence. Brian hangs up. Calls back, over and over. No one answers. 2:45 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Brian and Annette keep searching. They drive every road near Lind. Brandon's phone keeps ringing, but no one picks up. At 6:30 a.m., they go to the police. But the police don't take it seriously. He's 19, they say. He has a right to go missing. Annette pleads. He would never do this. Still, the officers suggest, maybe he ran away. Maybe he's hiding. The Swansons know better. It was dark, cold. Still, Brandon Swanson was walking. Gravel crunched under his shoes. His father, Brian, was still on the other end of the phone. "Just keep talking," Brian told him, and he did. For 47 minutes, Brandon stayed on the line. He was lost, but calm. Confused, but polite. He thought he was near Lind, Minnesota. He wasn't. "I see lights," Brandon said. He thought it was a town, so he left the safety of his car. Started walking toward the glow. His dad said, "Okay, we're driving that way. Just keep walking. We'll meet you." There was silence for a moment. Then Brandon spoke again. "There's a fence here. I'm going around it." More silence. "I'm walking through a field now." The field was wide, flat, and cold. Early May nights in Minnesota dropped fast, down into the 40s. Brandon wore a black t-shirt, jeans, and a cap. No jacket. No flashlight. Just a phone. And his voice. Brian drove. His wife, Annette, sat beside him. They took slow turns down gravel roads, headlights bouncing off cornstalks and empty ditches. Brian held the phone tight. He didn't hang up. He just kept listening. Sometimes Brandon talked. Sometimes he didn't. There were long pauses, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But the call stayed alive. Brandon never said he was scared. He never screamed. He just sounded tired and lost. "Do you see us yet?" Again and again, Brian asked. "Can you see our lights? Can you see a car?" "No," Brandon replied. "Are you sure you're near Lind?" "Yes, I see the lights. It must be Lind." But it wasn't. Brandon didn't know it, but the lights he saw were not a town at all. Later, police would learn he was near Taunton, nearly 25 miles away from where he thought he was. Something began to change in the call. The tone. The mood. Brandon wasn't laughing anymore. His voice got slower, quieter. "There's another fence," he said, and then nothing again. Brian kept driving, eyes darting across the empty roads. He felt something was off. He just didn't know what. Then it happened. Brian still remembers the sound. Brandon suddenly said, "Oh shit, sharp, fast, scared." And then, nothing. Dead silence. The call stayed connected. But Brandon said no more. Search teams went to where the car had been found. Dogs were brought in. The scent trail was strong at first. It showed Brandon had walked along the gravel road, then into a field, then toward a creek. Then it just stopped. No footprints, no body, no phone, just an open stretch of farmland. That phone call still holds the biggest mystery. 47 minutes. One final word. No signs of struggle. No scream. Just one sharp exhale. What did Brandon see? What was in that moment? A fall, a shadow, a person. Brian froze. "Brandon." No answer. "Are you okay?" No answer. He hung up, called again, and again. No pickup. For the next several minutes, Brian and Annette kept trying. The phone rang. Then voicemail. They left messages, pleading ones. "Please, call us back. Let us know you're okay." But Brandon never called again. His voice was gone. So was he. That morning, after hours of searching near Lind, Brandon's car was found. But not where they had looked. It was far northwest, near Taunton. His call said Lind. But his phone had pinged a tower closer to Porter. It made no sense. He had left his friend's house in Canby. He should have headed south and east toward Marshall. But somehow, he went north. Maybe he got turned around. Maybe he took a wrong turn and didn't realize it. But how did he mistake his location by over 25 miles? And why didn't anyone know until it was too late? Investigators looked at everything. Was Brandon drinking? Yes, he'd had a couple of drinks at the party, but no one said he was drunk. May 14th, 2008, Marshall, Minnesota. The sky turned blue. The grass glowed with dew. But for Brian and Annette Swanson, morning brought no comfort. Their son, Brandon, was gone. and no one had answers. At 6:30 a.m., the Swansons walked into the Marshall police station. They told the officer, "Our son is missing. We were on the phone with him for 47 minutes. Then he screamed. Then nothing." The officer blinked. "He's 19, they said. He probably just ran off." "Give it a day." Brian and Annette were stunned. They begged. He didn't run away. Something happened. Still, officers waited. That first day, no official search was launched. Precious hours were lost. Only after pushing hard did the police take a report. By mid-morning, a deputy found Brandon's Chevy Lumina. It was off a gravel road near Taunton, not Lind. This changed everything. Brandon thought he was near Lind, but his phone call had come from far north of there. Why did he get so confused? How could a teenager mistake his location by 25 miles? By the afternoon of May 14th, volunteers gathered. Police dogs were brought in. The field near the car was huge, flat, grassy, and surrounded by small creeks and thick brush. A scent trail was found. The dogs followed Brandon's path. 1. He walked along the gravel road. 2. Crossed a ditch. 3. Climbed a fence. 4. Entered a field. 5. Then headed toward the Yellow Medicine River. And then the trail vanished. No shoes. No hat. No blood. The river was checked. Boats, divers, drones. Nothing. No floating body. No torn clothes. No sign of a fall. The current wasn't strong enough to carry a body far. The water was calm, only a few feet deep. So where was he? How could someone vanish like that? For hours, Brian and Annette had searched the roads near Lind. They trusted Brandon. He had sounded sure, confident. "I'm near Lind. I see the lights." But now they knew those lights weren't Lind. They were likely from a farm, a grain elevator, or maybe even Taunton. Brandon had been walking in the wrong direction, toward nothing. Worse, his parents were 20 miles away the whole time. They were searching the wrong place while Brandon was still alive. Still walking. Still on the phone. The "oh shit" moment, that final word, haunted everyone. He didn't say it casually. He said it fast. Sharp, like he saw something. What was it? A person. A snake. Did he slip? Or was someone there, hiding in the dark? Brian told police. He sounded normal, not scared, just confused. But then, the shift. The quiet tension. And then, that last word. The phone stayed connected, but no voice came again. Police tried to trace the phone. Too late. Cell phone triangulation wasn't accurate enough then. They couldn't pinpoint the final spot. Just a general area, a few square miles of fields, ditches and trees. Weeks passed. Dozens of volunteers joined. Searches by land and air. Dogs, helicopters, sonar, even cadaver dogs. All the same result. No Brandon. No trace. His body never floated. His clothes were never found. His phone never pinged again. How does someone just vanish? This became the big question. In an open field, in flat land, with a phone in hand, how does a 19-year-old disappear while on the phone with his dad? There were no large woods. No cliffs. No large rivers to carry him away. Theory 1, he fell into water. Maybe he slipped into the Yellow Medicine River and drowned. But the river was shallow, and search dogs tracked him across it. If he drowned, where was the body? Theory 2, he got disoriented and died of exposure. That night it was cold. Mid-40s Brandon had no jacket. Maybe he fell asleep and died of hypothermia. But again, where's the body? His phone? His shoes? Theory 3, someone was out there. This is the darkest idea, that someone else was in those fields. And Brandon wasn't alone when he said, "Oh shit." But no evidence of struggle was found. No witnesses. No reports of vehicles. So, what really happened? As days turned to weeks, the search never stopped. But there was little hope. Every blade of grass had been walked. Every ditch looked through, and still, not even a footprint. It didn't feel like he walked away. It felt like he was taken. By what? By who? No one could say. The Swansons never stopped. They returned to the area again and again. To the field, to the fence, to the ditch, looking, waiting, praying. But the silence stayed. Just like it did at 2:30 a.m., just like it has for every year since. The Yellow Medicine River moved slowly. It was quiet, shallow, soft brown water drifting through green farmland. But after Brandon Swanson disappeared, that peaceful river became a place of fear and hope. Because if Brandon had fallen in, then maybe he was still there. Maybe the river was keeping him, or maybe it knew something no one else did. On the third day after Brandon vanished, divers entered the Yellow Medicine River. They worked in teams. Careful. Slow. Each movement precise. The river was not deep, only 3 to 5 feet in most areas. They checked the spot near where search dogs had tracked Brandon's scent, again and again. But nothing. No body. No clothing. No cell phone. No sign he had ever been there. Dogs find something strange. Then something chilling happened. A bloodhound was brought back to the field where Brandon's scent trail had ended. The dog tracked the same path again. Along the gravel road, through the ditch, over the fence, across the field, toward the river. But this time, the dog crossed the river and picked up Brandon's scent on the other side. This changed everything. It meant Brandon had likely made it across. He didn't drown. He was alive. For at least a little longer. The worst part wasn't the silence. It wasn't even the fear. It was the waiting. Days turned to weeks. Weeks into months. Still, no Brandon. Not a footprint. Not a thread. Not a single clue. But something else started to rise from the pain. Anger. Let's go back. May 14th, 2008, 6:30 a.m. Brian and Annette Swanson walked into the Marshall Police Department and said, "Our son is missing. He was on the phone with us." He cried out and then vanished, the officer said. "He's probably just laying low. He's an adult." And they told the Swansons, "Come back later if he doesn't show up." No urgency. No search. No alert. And hours, critical hours, were wasted. At that time, in Minnesota, there was no law requiring police to act quickly on adult missing person reports. Once you turned 18, officers could treat your disappearance like it was voluntary, even when there were signs of danger. Brandon was 19. Even though his parents knew something was wrong, the system did not move. And that delay could have cost everything. Annette Swanson was not going to let it go. She was quiet at first, grieving, staring at her son's empty room, walking past the front door, hoping it would open again. But then her grief turned to purpose. She started reading about other missing persons. She found out it wasn't just Brandon. Other families had faced the same slow response, and too many stories ended in heartbreak. "No one should ever hear what we heard." That's what she told a reporter in 2009. No parent should be on the phone with their child, hear them scream, and be told to wait. So she called lawmakers. She told Brandon's story again and again. She spoke to community groups, news stations, and schools. She wasn't just asking for help. She was demanding change. It took 2 years, but then it happened. In 2009, Minnesota lawmakers introduced a bill called Brandon's Law. It was simple, but powerful. Here's what it said. If someone is missing and there's reason to fear they're in danger, police must act immediately. Even if that person is an adult, no waiting, no delay, no second-guessing the family. Officers must take the report, assess the risk, and begin the search. Brandon's Law passed. Unanimously. Not a single vote against it. Brandon's face was on the news. His name was on the law books. And Annette Swanson, still grieving, still searching, had changed the system. For every parent, for every lost child. But the victory was not enough. Because Brandon was still missing. Annette and Brian didn't want just a law. They wanted answers. They wanted to know what happened in those dark, silent minutes after 2:30 a.m. Over the next few years, police tried again. They used better GPS tools to remap Brandon's path. New search dogs came in. More private search teams volunteered. A new sonar scan of the Yellow Medicine River. Nothing. Still nothing. The land had swallowed him, or someone had taken him so cleanly, no trace remained. By 2013, the case felt like a riddle with no answer. So people started guessing. Some were kind. Some were cruel. Here are the biggest theories people still argue about today. Theory 1, misadventure. Brandon fell. He hit his head. Died from injury or cold. But how? The land was flat. The water shallow. No body. Theory 2. Animal attack. Maybe a wild animal attacked. But that night, there were no signs of struggle. No torn clothes. No blood. Also, large predators like wolves or mountain lions were extremely rare in that area. Someone was out there. Someone found him after he crossed the river. Maybe he asked for help from the wrong person. Maybe he stumbled across something he shouldn't have. But again, no evidence. No reports. No suspects. No trace. Could Brandon have walked away from life? All evidence says no. He was calm. He was talking to his dad. He was trying to get home. No reason to run. And if he had faked it, how did he vanish without a car? Without money? Without even being spotted once? The place where the call ended. It has no name. Just a spot between two small roads, near a ditch. A field. A river. Today, there's no sign, no marker. But to the Swansons, it's sacred. It's where Brandon's voice faded into nothing. Over the next 10 years, Annette Swanson kept speaking. She helped other families understand their rights. She told Brandon's story at police academies, helping officers learn how to act faster. She sat in silence with mothers like her. She cried for children who were never found. He's still out there. That's what she said in a 2018 interview. We haven't found him yet, but we will. Every spring, they return to the search, just in case the river decides to speak. There is a field near Taunton, Minnesota, quiet, open, always windy. Every spring, corn grows there. Every fall, it's harvested. But every time the stalks sway, locals say they hear footsteps, and sometimes the voice. I'm by the lights. Those were Brandon's last words. Words that never made sense. Because there were no lights. Not in the place he was found to be, and not where he thought he was. Just fields. Dirt. Fence lines. A ditch. And silence. People still search. 15 years later, strangers still walk those fields. Volunteers, hikers, retired cops, people with drones and maps and dogs. They check every drainage pipe, every silo, every gully, looking for something, anything. But nothing ever shows. The only thing that remains is the mystery. Brandon vanished in 2008, but his case still stings today because it's not just about one boy. It's about how someone can vanish in plain sight. It's about how a simple phone call can be the last lifeline. And it's about how, even with satellites, maps, drones, and dogs, the Earth can still swallow a person whole. Some say Brandon's case is like a ghost story. A voice on the phone, then nothing. A dark road. A cry for help. A sudden silence. Brian and Annette still live in Marshall. They've kept Brandon's room the same. His bed is made. His books sit on the shelf. His posters hang on the wall, fading now, from the sun. They haven't moved. Because if Brandon ever comes back, he needs to find home just the way he left it. Over the years, strangers have mailed letters to the Swansons. Some say, "We think we saw him." Some say, "I dream about Brandon." Some just say, "I'm sorry. I've never forgotten him." One letter came with no return address, just a typed note that read, "He was close. You walked right past him, chilled them to the bone." But police said it could be a cruel prank. Or something darker. Other parents reached out. After Brandon's law passed, something happened. Other parents, who had lost sons and daughters, started calling Annette. They said, "We fought the same fight. We begged police too. We were ignored too." She realized Brandon's case had done something bigger than just change one law. It had given other parents a voice. It chilled them to the bone. But police said it could be a cruel prank. Or something darker. After Brandon's law passed, something happened. Other parents, who had lost sons and daughters, started calling Annette. They said, "We fought the same fight. We begged police too. We were ignored too." She realized Brandon's case had done something bigger than just change one law. It had given other parents a voice. If this story chilled you, if Brandon's voice stays with you, then don't let it fade. Subscribe now to Unbelievably True Story. We bring you the real stories that stay in your soul. Because every week, we go deeper into the mysteries the world tries to forget. Watch the next story on your screen now.